It started when I was curled up in a fetal position at the bottom of my shower and I think I was there for like an hour, and I realized that I had what I'd only heard of before. I had had a nervous breakdown. The day after, I could not move. It was hard for me to function. I stayed in bed all day. I skipped school. I had my parents call my teachers, let them know what was going on. And from there, we figured that the best course of action might be to admit me into a mental inpatient ward. It was really late at night. I think it was like 12. We drove to Edwards Hospital's mental inpatient center called Linden Oaks. And it was a very, very tedious process. It felt like I was in that waiting room for the longest time. For me, it just felt like I was there for eternity. And I told the doctor, or the physician in charge at the time, that I was dealing with suicidal thoughts, that I had experienced a lot of anxiety. It just felt like time didn't exist while I was explaining my symptoms while I was waiting in the waiting room. And then finally, after another, felt like an hour or two of waiting, they said, all right, we've deemed that your symptoms are extreme enough that we should put you under admission into the mental inpatient ward. After that first time, I was admitted 3 more times. I remember going to my room and getting introduced to the situation at Linden Oaks. The time in Linden Oaks is spent either in group therapy sessions. If it's not group therapy, it's some kind of alternative therapy, art therapy, music therapy, and then being in your room. And that's all it is. And so if a patient was causing a lot of problem, there was a certain letter designation that they would put on this whiteboard by the nurse's desk. And on the nurse's desk, there was every single patient in the ward, and there would be letters next to their names. All the patients in the ward would refer to patients who were troublemakers and had all the letters next to their name. We said that that patient had alphabet soup because of how many things they did and how many letters were next to their name that meant bad things. They diagnosed me with severe obsessive compulsive disorder. Obsessive compulsive disorder, it's a little bit misunderstood. It's where you have intrusive thoughts. There'll be thoughts that you as a person do not support, that you as a person do not approve of. People with obsessive compulsive disorder nonstop think about this. Sexual obsessions, and they think very deviant, taboo sexual thoughts, but religious thoughts, and they think very weird or very sinful, quote unquote, religious thoughts. Basically, defining aspect of OCD is that you have all these obsessions, these intrusive thoughts that constantly hammer into your head that the only way to deal with it is to compulsively do something else. But that's the actual thing about OCD, is that you know what you're doing doesn't make sense. It's like a bully. It constantly tells you these are the rules. You have to do this every single time. Otherwise, you're not going to be clean. You're going to infect everybody you know if you touch it. I can say something. I can talk back to my OCD. And I want to scream at it. I want to stop, but I can't. It's trapping my own mind. It's reworking my brain. OCD is living with all these imaginary rules all the time, 24/7, because OCD just pervades in every single thing I do. I have a hand washing compulsion where every time I wash my hands, whenever I'm at the sink, wash my hands for a count of 40. And then I do that 5 different times. Actually, the compulsion to wash my hands 5 times is an improvement because it used to just be 8. I've been narrowing it down, and every time I narrow it down to, let's say, 4, sometimes, or maybe I cut it down to 3, it's a small victory. I've broken the rules. And then with OCD, it's still a part of my daily struggle. It's the most prevalent mental illness battle I'm fighting. But I've learned to kind of like change it towards my own ways. I now, of all the compulsions I have, I'm trying to make one of them compulsively right. I don't want to change into something unhealthy, but I want to make sure I can keep on writing every day. Nonstop squeeze some little bit of writing, get a page or a scene or 2 down. I'm trying to find ways every day. It's been a half a decade battle fighting mental illness now, but I think I'm finally learning how to twist OCD and make it work for me.